Hey, it's Ron McLean. Welcome to Hockey Talk on the Rock.
With Laura and Keith.
It's interesting.
So let's back up a second.
He played absolutely out of his mind.
It made no sense to me.
And now, here are your hosts.
We are back doing episode 80 of Hockey Talk on the Rock. This is Laura and I'm Keith, and we are going to talk some playoff hockey stuff and league news stuff, and we normally start with Canucks stuff, and there's not really news, but there is kind of news, and I feel like you're going to want to talk a little bit about it with the country club comments and stuff like that.
Oh yeah, the locker room?
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I would say that I find it somewhat unsurprising that this stuff is coming out now, because to me it kind of did feel like over the last 2 years that there was something going on in the locker room that wasn't totally normal, like whether it was a riff or something like along those lines. So I'm not totally surprised, and maybe also that's played a role into like how long it took them to come to an agreement with Boudreau and things of that nature. But I don't really have any super strong opinion about it, I guess, because it's not really that surprising to me. I don't know if you have anything to add.
No, not really. I mean, I've more touched on the actual hockey stuff and saying I guess at least one team is asked to interview Brad Shaw.
Yep.
For a position, head coaching position, I guess, and there's quite a few of them, which I'll get to in a bit.
Yeah.
And then there's rumors that there's already an assistant coach opening, and then if he goes, there would be two, and there's rumors that Mike Yeo might be taking one of the spots, which, as a Philly guy, I don't know how I feel about that.
I mean, I would say, again, as long as it says an assistant, I'm more okay with it, but I would still prefer someone else. Yeah. But as an assistant, he might be better than he was as a head coach, because I mean, both in St. Louis and in Philly, it wasn't good. Yeah. So, yeah. But other than that, I think that's kind of
it for more Canucks. Or less for Canucks.
There's all the rumors, but
I mean, we can talk to death to all the rumors. You know, but they're
it is what it is, and until something actually happens, it's kind of pointless at this point.
For sure.
So, yeah, I mean, this next month, I guess this is what I'll end with. Basically, as soon as the Stanley Cup finishes, I think it's Canucks watch kind of thing to the draft. That period there, I think it's going to be, we're going to see the new management put their stamp on the team. So
Yeah, for sure.
Alrighty.
From that, we'll hop into the head coaching upcoming carousel. Yeah. So right now, off the top of my head, I'm pretty sure I can think of 7, being Dallas, Winnipeg, Vegas, Detroit, Chicago, Boston, and Philly, all looking for head coaches. Yeah. I might have missed one, but let's go with 7.
Okay.
So on the spot, who would you tie to each team right now, or who would you predict is going to get a head coaching job? Because there's a lot of experienced coaches out there.
So I think for me, the first one I'd say, I think Detroit is going to go with Tampa's assistant. That's the heavy rumor, and I can't remember his name right now.
It's with an L.
Yeah. I think that is a fit, and it makes sense with this DBY connection. It sounds also like Dallas is going to go with DeBoer. Yeah. So those two, I think, I don't know. That's kind of my guess there.
So with Detroit, I was going to say exactly what you said. With Dallas, I was going to say what you said. And I mean, the DeBoer thing's pretty heavily reported. Yeah. Let's go Vegas next.
So Vegas, I kind of think is going to be either Cassidy or Trotz. Okay. I think they're going to go big name hunting, and it'll be one of those two. But if I have to guess, maybe I'll say Cassidy, because I think Trotz is going to go somewhere not Vegas. But
I was going to go Cassidy as well, because he seems like, or sounds like, he doesn't do well with younger players, and he has a successful winning record, so I can see him being a fit in Vegas. Go to Winnipeg next. I'm going to go with Trotz in Winnipeg, just because he's the Winnipeg guy, and I mean, I keep thinking about it over and over and over, and they have a really good goalie. They have good defense, and he's a defensive coach, so I feel like that would be an appealing roster for him.
Who else? So there's Talkett, Tortorella. Who else is out there?
Claude Julien,
Trotz. I mean, it's so tempting to say Trotz, and I just don't want to do them all the same as you. So that's the hard part. So maybe I'll switch it up and I'll just say Talkit for something different.
Yeah, I mean, that would probably be my second guess. Philly, I feel like it's going to be Tortorella. I know they want Trotz. I just don't see it happening.
And I don't know why Trotz would go there. I agree. I'll say Tortorella for Philly.
And then that leaves us with Boston and Chicago.
Wow.
And I mean, I don't really have much. I would guess like Julien to Chicago. Yeah. Because I can't seem to go back to Boston.
Yeah. I think Chicago might go younger too, or like more inexperienced. Yeah. But I don't really have like a name. Yeah. Off the top of my head, but I don't think it's gonna be one of the ones on the list. Yes. And then Boston, like I don't think Barry Trotz is gonna end up in Boston. No. So again, I'm like maybe no. I like Paul Maurice, but I can't see that either. Right.
I'd put Paul Maurice as like a wild card for Philly, maybe.
Yeah. I guess I'll say Paul Maurice, Boston, because I don't have anywhere else. Yeah. And I still think Trotz is going to end up in Florida.
What about Travis Green, Boston?
Well, I heard Travis Green, he was in talks with Dallas, I know. Right. But I don't see him ending up in Boston. No. You know, like the GM in Boston, this is going to be his last bullet, right? So he's going to make a big push here, and it's got to be someone I think established. Again, unless they decide to tear everything down, it's going to be really interesting for the Bruins on July 1st, right? Or not 1st, 13th, or whatever it is this year. Right. Because they could have money to spend
with all the injuries.
With all the injuries, but I don't know. I really feel like next year's the year they take a step back, but I think people have been saying that for years with Boston, and it hasn't happened. Yeah. But you don't have the coach, so if you were going to go younger, you could get a play like a kind of a coach that younger players will listen to, or is better with younger players, and see how that goes for them. But they don't have a lot in their system right now, so yeah.
Since you brought up Florida, I did read or hear that they like re-upped one or all their assistants recently, so there's speculation that Brunette's going to be back. Yeah. We'll see. But yeah. So that's it for the coaching stuff, yes. I think. And it's just rumor and hearsay at this point, but...
So I do have 2 games.
Okay.
They're not super hard. It's just a speculation game, but they both surround Edmonton. Okay. So Edmonton obviously swept at the hands of Colorado. I think maybe there's 2 sides to the story here. I think that they had a pretty easy walk to the conference final, which, you know, probably makes maybe their fan base have unrealistic expectations to what the team is going to be like next season. It also sounds like because of like the Darnell Nurse, you know, contract extension kicking in and various other expenses, they're not going to have a ton of money at the free agency. Yeah. So that brings them to an interesting predicament because again, obviously you have Draisaitl, who played basically on one leg and was amazing in the playoffs, and you have McDavid, who are 2 of the best players in the world, and basically to this point they haven't really achieved anything. So yeah, they're in an interesting predicament, and they have the two kind of big question marks, I would say, which is like Evander Kane, and then who's going to play in net, which is going to be the bigger one. Yeah. So my games are, number 1, who is going to play in net for the Oilers next season, and number 2, where is Evander Kane going to play next season?
I mean, I've been talking about Kane since, like, before they were out of the playoffs. Yeah. And jokingly, I've said Vegas. Oh, yeah. Because Vegas. But, seriously, I do see him going to LA. Okay. I feel like he would fit in with that roster, and he probably likes the California lifestyle, and, like, you know, he'd probably do well on that team. So, I'm going to stick with the Kings for Evander Kane. Okay. And then for their goaltending... I'm going to go totally out there and say that they're going to acquire James Reimer. Okay. Because the Sharks are...
rebuilding.
Well, they're not admitting they're rebuilding, but they know they need to. Yeah. And they have Aiden Hill, and they acquired Kakkonen from Minnesota. So I feel like they'll re-sign him and then try to figure out which of those 2 is going to be their future guy. And I can see Reimer playing the Mike Smith veteran goalie role in Edmonton. That's my pick. Okay. You?
So I think Evander Kane's going to end up in Carolina.
Okay.
Because I think that they identified in the summer that they need scoring on the wings. And he can score. He's a winger. And they've also kind of proven this year that they can somewhat rehabilitate, like, problematic players
with Tony
with
D.
Tony D, and that would be an interesting environment if they were both on the same team. But I think Tony D is a free agent now, or is it just that they don't want to keep him? I don't know. But anyway, so I think that could be a fit, and I think they might pay him to go there, basically. Also, it's like not a big market, which probably he would like, and for the team bringing in Evander Kane is probably easier if you're not in a big market too. So for Edmonton, I'm still going also with Mike Bennington playing in net because I just feel like that's too much of a fit. But obviously, because of the cap of Bennington, there's got to be something that works out there, and I'm not too sure what it is. So I'll say Bennington in Edmonton.
I don't know. I feel like Husso, the way he played in the playoffs, maybe he's not going to be the guy there anymore.
It might not. The other one I'd say is they're going to pay big money to either Jack Campbell or Darcy Kemper to come to Edmonton.
Oh, yeah.
Because they're going to be like, hey, we need to prove that we have a goalie. So for me, it's one of those three. I'll lean towards Bennington, but I also agree with you. I think, Husso was not great in the playoffs. Mind you, they did play Colorado, which we've seen is they're very adept at scoring goals.
Yeah.
So anyway, that was my little game with Edmonton.
Sidebar with Campbell, I read that New Jersey is going to be targeting him.
And that makes sense, right?
Yeah.
They also need a goalie very badly.
Okay.
Yeah.
Other than that, when we touched on Colorado sweeping Edmonton, so we know that one. We're in the midst of probably watching Tampa put away New York in 6.
Yeah, we'll see.
You never know. Still 20 minutes
still
of
20
hockey
minutes.
left. But then we'll do our episode mini to finish off our bracket this year. If it's Tampa, Colorado, I'll feel pretty good about that because I called that before the season started.
Yeah.
And predicted Tampa to 3-peat, even though I've bet against Tampa in every single round so far.
Yeah.
Other than that, it's just playoff time, so there's not a lot of news. I mean, there's been some awards given out.
Oh yeah, the awards as well.
Like Bergeron got his record 5th Selke, and what is it, 11 straight nominations or
something ridiculous like that.
So that's crazy, and maybe one day it'll be the Bergeron award.
Yeah, they're all talking about that one now too.
And then I don't know if they did any other big ones that we haven't already talked about.
No, I don't think so, right?
Because they're saving the most of them for the 21st.
Yeah. So I think that's pretty much it. Kyle Connor.
Got the Lady Bam. Yeah, and that's really impressive that he took 4 penalty minutes all year while being a heavy minute forward that's got 90 points or whatever he got.
Yeah.
So
crazy.
Pretty impressive. Kind of reminds me of Paul Correa back in the day.
Yeah.
And then
I think that's it.
That's it.
That's
okay.
all the news that we got.
Well, you're up to date with the latest hockey talk on the Rock, and that was episode 80. So we'll be back, like I say, for a quick episode mini to finish off our bracket for the finals, and then after the Cup is won, I'm sure we'll have a big recap episode number 82. So we got stuff coming up, but thanks for listening.
Woo!